Welcome back, guys. Week 2 is in the books, and what a fourth quarter we got to see. Before we get started, remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn those notifications down below, and let's not waste any time and get straight into talking about that last game. At the end of our down-to-the-wire clash, we suffered our first defeat of the year, 22-20 to the New York Giants. It all came down to the very end where we ended up blocking a field goal, returning it for a touchdown, and then New York drove back down the field for the game-winning kick. Now, we predicted this game would be dominated by the defenses, and it was indeed. But let's start our analysis by talking about the offenses on the day. Let's start with Daniel Jones, who definitely surprised as he came into the game and aired it out early. He caught us off guard with some good play-action play, and he ended up having a solid day through the air, throwing for over 200 yards and no turnovers. Most of that production did come from Isaiah Hodgins, who continued to get involved, picking up 7 catches for just under 100 yards, with his biggest grab going for a massive 42. He even had their last big grab of the game to get them into field goal range for the game winner. Now, this offense was mostly contained for the majority of the game, and that was due to some great tackling from this Arizona defense. First off, the rookie Garrett Williams finished with 9 tackles on the day, making a lot of plays to stop New York short of the marker. After that, we have Jalen Thompson, a guy who is really coming into his own, finishing with double-digit tackles on the day. And the other guy on our squad to come away with double-digit tackles was Zaven Collins, and he is truly carving out his role as that outside cover linebacker when we send Ojulari in on the blitz. Now, speaking of VJ, he was forced to leave the game very early on with an injury, which turned out to be an upper arm fracture, which will keep him out of the lineup for the next 3 weeks. But the reason their offense truly produced when it did was the same reason we expected before we came in. It was Saquon Barkley. He had a phenomenal day, surpassing 130 all-purpose yards, and we could not stop him no matter what we tried. Before we move on, we have to acknowledge their sole touchdown of the day, which came from Sterling Shepard. Now, while it was his only catch on the day, it was a big one at the right time for them. Now for our offense, Colt McCoy had a much less impressive performance than he did last week, as he threw 3 interceptions on the day. He did throw over 275 yards, but any solid QB in this league will tell you, you can't turn the ball over. And now, let's talk about those interceptions. The first one came from Bobby McCain. As with Arizona backed up deep, they tried to take a deep shot through the air, and he did well to cut it off and come away with the ball. Next up was Xavier McKinney, and here he just capitalized on a very poor decision. McCoy predetermined his target, and he paid for it as he threw an easy interception straight to McKinney. And the last went to the Giants' first-round pick, Deonte Banks, and this was truly an incredible play. He gets beat off the line and shows such great recovery speed and ball skill to get back to this one and snatch it right out of the air. Now, when we weren't turning it over, our biggest playmaker in the passing game was clearly Rondale Moore, as he went over 100 yards on the day with 6 catches. And he is playing very solid as our speedy slot option in this offense. But the true dismantling of our offense came from Azeez Ojulari, who had a career day against us as his brother went down with injury. He finished the day with 5 tackles for loss, 4 of them being sacks, just continuously getting home on the blitz, and we could not stop him. And we see who won the Battle of the Brothers this time. But the play of the day came from Antonio Hamilton, as New York was looking to kick the field goal to go up 2 scores with just over a minute left. Hamilton dives in to block the kick, gets back up, scoops up the ball, and takes it all the way down the field for the touchdown. A play that very nearly was the one to win it for this team. After the game, we got another text from Marco Wilson, and he said he's put in a lot of work this year. He's finally starting to see the results on the field, and he appreciates us putting his talent to good use. And with that, Marco Wilson has now gained star development, and he also received 10,000 XP, which will be crucial to his growth. We then met up with Ojulari in the locker room, and he said it's hard to be upset with the progress he's made this season, but he can't help but feel like he missed an opportunity to really take that next step this week with the injury. We told him not to get caught up on the struggles. He has made a lot of progress and has given him valuable experience, and that will continue to make him better moving forward. The first round of the mock draft was released, and we took our time going through it to get an idea of how some things might shake out come April. Right now, they are projecting the Pittsburgh Steelers to get the first pick in the draft, and they'll be taking the tackle Brian McKay from Penn State. Moving down the board some, we're projected to get the 5th pick right now, and with it, take Rashad Pickett, a quarterback out of South Carolina. Another shorter QB who could be another more athletic running style guy like Kyler Murray, should we choose to move on from him. It looks like the defensive end we heard about out of Arkansas could be heading to Chicago at 10. We have some of our NFC West division mates showing up in the middle of the first round, as with the Rams at 16, they predict they'll look to continue to feed this offensive unit with a wide receiver, and the analysts think their guy is Darnell Slayton out of Penn State. And right behind them is the Chiefs, looking to try and get this defense younger, and they could look to pick up defensive end Darrell Bennett out of Florida. A few spots lower is our last division mate in the 49ers, and they could be looking to add to their offensive weapons as well, adding the 6'5" receiver Carlos Esparza out of Wisconsin. And right under them, we have another projected pick from the Houston Texans as a result of their draft day trade, where they traded down for the number 3 pick. They are projecting it to land at 21, and for us to take another option at QB with Charles Morgan out of LSU. And to end the mock, they have the Bengals winning it all and looking to reload, taking the receiver Brian Farrell out of Boise State. Now, as we take a look at the news headlines for this week. After 2 games, it looks like Jair Alexander is leading the league in interceptions with 3, but one of our division mates, Bobby Wagner from Seattle, is tied for second most. There is also a lot of talk about receiver prospect Garrison Drayton. Coming out of a small school, a lot of curiosity and skepticism seems to follow him as he puts on great performances just against poor competition. It looks like Austin Eckler got a little banged up in their last game, and they're hoping he's able to return sooner rather than later. And the sports world is loving Zaven Collins' out of nowhere breakout after his double-digit tackles from this past game. Our contract renegotiation window has opened, and we have a lot of guys with their contracts coming to an end this year. Some of the main guys of note are Hollywood Brown, Isaiah Simmons, and Bryce Huff. We are currently looking at about $73 million in cap room for the 2024 season, and I'm not so sure I've seen enough at the point to make any big decisions just yet, so we will hold off on the extensions for now, but we definitely have the money to pay guys if we see fit. And with that, now is the time we can look forward to our next upcoming game as we welcome the Dallas Cowboys into our building. One of the top teams in the NFC, destined to battle it out with the Eagles for the NFC East title for years to come. Let's hope we can steal a win from them today. It will be an especially tough test this time, as they have started out their season winning 2 straight tough games against the Giants we just faced, and most recently against the Jets. A very tight, close game, and the difference of it was that Cowboy defense. The Jets could not keep the pocket clean for Rodgers, who was sacked 3 times, and the pressure got to him as he threw an interception as well to Jordan Lewis. As we think about our strategy, we have to figure out how to lock down CeeDee Lamb. Coming off 2 straight Pro Bowl seasons in which he was well over 1,000 receiving yards in each, he is the go-to guy for Dak, and no one has been able to stop him yet. And we just mentioned him, Dak Prescott is the leader of this offensive unit, a guy who has earned everything in his career, coming out of Mississippi State, drafted in the 4th round, and he has been phenomenal. A guy who is very accurate with the football, he isn't likely to make many mistakes this week. On the defensive side, they have one of the best young pass rushers in this league in Micah Parsons, a former Defensive Rookie of the Year, an All-Pro in his first 2 NFL seasons. He has already racked up 26.5 sacks in those first 2 years, and I don't think he's looking to slow down at all in year 3. Behind him, the secondary is led by veteran Stephon Gilmore. They brought him over from Indianapolis in the offseason in exchange for a 5th round pick, and he is a guy who has been there, done that. A former Super Bowl champ, multiple time All-Pro, Pro Bowler, and he is still a lockdown elite corner. and very few quarterbacks in this league even consider throwing his way. Now that we know the players to watch out for, let's set the game plan, starting with our defense. Obviously, we are going up against an elite offensive unit this week, and in situations like this, we have to keep it simple. We are going to look to defend the short pass and hopefully just take away the easy plays for them and force them to take some chances. And a similar scenario on the offensive side, they have superstars all over the defense, and they will be locked down in the secondary, and their defensive line is bound to dominate. So we'll be looking to throw it short. If we can keep the throw simple, not try to run it against this stout line, we might have a chance in this one. With Ojulari injured, we have a focus player spot available, and we will be entering Trey McBride into that spot to get some extra development with the opportunity. And we are finally ready to set our goals for our Week 3 game. First, let's try to get 15 first downs. When you're outmatched like this, the best thing you can ask for is consistency, and a good string of first downs represents just that. Next, we want our offense to put up 200 plus offensive yards. Not an extreme goal by any means, but I will be very proud if we can get ourselves over that 200-yard mark against this elite defense. On the defensive side, let's keep them under 31 points. I do not have much confidence in our defense to be able to find stops against one of the most solid offenses in the league, and this is going to be a rough one to watch. And lastly, let's try to get 2 or more passing touchdowns. This is going to be difficult, but we are going to have to take some chances to have a shot in this game, and that might mean airing it out downfield at some point. Following practice, we did see a lot of growth from our guys coming out of this week. We'll start with our new star, Marco Wilson. He had some fantastic growth after 2 big games, and he improved in his acceleration, awareness, press, tackle, and zone coverage. Next up, we have Zaven Collins, a guy who is carving out his own special niche on this offense and producing when he's out there. He improved in his pursuit, man, and zone coverages. And lastly, we have our number 2 running back, Corey Clement. He might not have the hair on his head right there, but he was great over the course of the week, improving in his awareness and juke move. And with no injuries to discuss besides Ojulari, we have talked about everything we needed to for the week. If you guys enjoyed, remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications down below, and I will catch you guys as we head into our Week 3 matchup where we take on the Cowboys.